Hi, good evening. Welcome to Hope Sheds Light Tuesday night group Finding Hope. Hope Sheds Light brings the awareness to the disease of addiction, to educate, provide knowledge, lived experience for those family members and people who may be suffering from the disease, to provide resources and educate. And educate. And we welcome you on Facebook. We welcome everybody here this evening. We have this every second and fourth Tuesday of the month. And the other Tuesdays we have our Finding Recovery meetings, which is the first and third Tuesday each month at the Hope Sheds Light office at 253 Chestnut Street. So I'd like to welcome you, our speaker, Dory Rachel from the Discovery Institute. She will be speaking on Spring into Action, Boundaries and Compassion. Thank you for joining us.
Good evening, everyone. I'm so glad you came out tonight, and it's an honor to be here. I see some faces I know and some new faces. When I was asked to speak this evening, we were talking about spring and springing into action, and I started to think about what happens to us when we're impacted by the disease of addiction and how it affects us. And when we're affected by the disease of addiction, whether it's in ourselves or in someone close to us, we don't want to spring into action. We don't feel uplifted. Sometimes we feel paralyzed. Sometimes we don't feel like we can go forward in action. And it's been a long winter. It's been a rainy day. And the feeling in the air is a little different. You know, is it going to rain? Is it not going to rain? How's our day going to be? And I wanted to talk about energy. Because around my 23rd year of recovery, I started to notice energy with people. I started to notice if I was around someone who was active, I kind of wanted to step back and observe. And I would feel some kind of a quote-unquote dark energy, or I'd feel a negative energy, or would feel something that was hard to deal with in terms of energetic pattern, for what that means. So I decided to study energy in and around the body, and how it works with another person, and study energy healing. And so I am a Reiki master teacher, and I'm also a 4th level healing touch practitioner. And in the past couple of years, I've been in my other recovery, which is from Lyme, the disease of Lyme. That kind of hit me hard. And I was kind of honored tonight to talk about energy. So I'm going to do something a little interactive with all of you, if you don't mind. The first thing is I'd like to invite you with the thought that if you're in a room, kind of like we are tonight, where you might see somebody in the room and you go, let me pull back. Like, I just don't think I vibe with that person. You know, there's something, you may not have ever seen that person before, you may not have ever had a conversation, but you're like, whoa, something's not right here. We don't know what that is. We may have found out afterwards that it's not true, that that person becomes our best friend. Or you could be validated and know that person is not somebody that you want to get close to. So there's something to energy in our read of it. So I drew this little guy. This is a guy, can you tell? And I drew these little dots around the guy. And the dots around the guy, for lack of a better word, are the chi force that comes off of your body. So we have several levels of energy that goes around our body. That which you might have read when I walked into the room and you went, nah, I don't want to talk to her. Or it could have been an inviting energy. It could have been, oh yeah, I want to sit and talk to that person, I don't know why. But the chi energy can vibrate off, it can get larger or smaller, but everybody has it. And generally speaking, it's about 6 inches off the body. And it goes over the whole body. And in certain areas, depending on how you feel, whether you're sick or whether you're well, it can radiate out further or come in a little bit more. to demonstrate this, I'm going to ask you, if you'd like to, and you feel comfortable to, rub your hands together. You feel a little bit of heat. And then also, just kind of make a little ball with that energy in your hand. Kind of be aware of it. You feel the heat that you created. You can pull it out. You can make it smaller. And if you're a real guy and you don't do this, I understand. But I'd ask you to do it again and try and get it going. So you have it again. And I'm going to ask you to take it and put it over your head. And have it go underneath your ears. And bring it out in front of you. And in a way, we'll do it again. You want to get your heat going? Get your chi going? And then bring it up over your head. Slowly bring it down. And then bring it out. So that's a very easy way to understand that you have energy, and that when you brought that through, the energy that's in your head is a lot, because we carry thoughts in our heads, and it gets heavy in there, especially if you're working with an addict. Because if you're working with an addict in your family, you're going, okay, that person just did this. They're going out the door. Then you start to think, what ifs? The oh my gods. How can I control this? I know I can't control this, no matter what. So when your head starts to get full, I want to give you something that you can do to make you feel better pretty quickly. And the head energy level, you can like rub your hands together. Yeah, I'll show you. And off the end of your finger, when you do this, you're activating some energy off your fingers. So that energy that goes off your fingers is actually what's used in Eastern medicine to do things like surgery without medication. We're in the Western world. This comes from the Eastern world. The Eastern world's very, very developed. There are things that happen with energy that are very powerful. And I'm going to show you what helps to reduce high blood pressure, anxiety, things that are in your head that you can't get rid of, and it's pretty effective. So you work with your hands, and you bring them to the middle of your head, and you come down slowly towards your ears. And it doesn't have to be heavy. It can be very light, or it can be heavy into your head. You go down behind your ears, and as I had shown you before, you just go out and let it go out. And you do that about 10 times. So if you're jammed up, if you've got too much that you're thinking about, or there's a lot on your mind, if you do that 10 times, you will find that it's not as great. There's a physical reaction to that energy. This is from Healing Touch. This is used in hospitals. This is used with nurses. This is used in different outpatients. It's an easy way to intervene on yourself for a therapeutic, helpful thing. Any questions? A little strange?
Seems it, yeah.
Yeah, seems a little weird, right?
Yeah, not something I'm used to.
So conversely, if you had somebody that you were sitting with and they gave you permission, you could do it on them. You could get your hands all going, get your hands all charged, and you could go like this to another person, and they could do it to you. So you can kind of share that kind of thing. So the energy part of that comes from the heat in your hand, from the release from you, and then the other person too. So Pam, if you would come up. Another way, you can turn around and I'll show you. Another way you can work with somebody is to try and just get them to relax if they're a little jammed up or whatever. You can share. You stand behind someone and you just want to wish your best intention with this person. So I connect with Pam, don't I? Yes, we connect. And so you can put your hands on their shoulder very gently, and then you work in the field. You don't touch them. And you would slowly take your hands down as if you were brushing someone, like this. You can stand still.
Okay.
And then
It's all this energy.
and you go all the way around the body, slowly, using the extensions over the back. And this can be like, really I'm going quickly, but it could be in about, can you feel it? A half an hour, 20 minutes or a half an hour, where you actually brush someone down with your fingertip energy. Now it seems like that's woo-woo frou-frou, which it is. But when someone has had surgery and they come out of surgery, in order to remove the anesthesia in healing touch, you use that same modality when the person is laying down, and you'll do 15 strokes one side of the body, 15 strokes here, and 15 strokes there, and it helps to alleviate the anesthesia, the pain, and they get discharged earlier. So there is something to it. And the cardiology units in different hospitals across the United States are using these modalities to help heal. And the reason why I talk about it is because in recovery, we need to know more of these non-pill ways of being able to help ourselves and help others if we need it. So it's a whole new world, really, to explore. Any questions? Thoughts?
I mean, this is something resonates for me. I've spent some time studying the healing arts, and I think for me, it works to prevent getting to that critical level. So if, it's an intervention that you can apply to start to manage your own chronic illness and recovery process before you're in that state where you might need a more intrusive or critical intervention. And I don't think we don't think in terms like that in Western medicine often. So, for me, that's how I use it. When at the first sign of distress or disease, I'm looking at managing that myself before it gets to something I can't manage myself. So
that's a really good point. We're so used to, in our culture, waiting till something gets to critical mass, like we wait for the heart attack to go to the hospital rather than paying attention to the pain in the chest. And this is an intervention tool, bad analogy for this, but we wait too long. And if we start to do interventions for our own healing, it's very helpful. Another thing you can do to feel this is brush your hand with the one hand with the other hand and just brush off. And you can feel, if you keep doing it, you can start to feel the energetic field and how it starts to act on that one hand with the other hand. And you can, it's nothing that you can see, but you can start to feel pieces of that. And so if you have a bruise, or if you hit your hand, or if you hit yourself, you can do that and then slap your hand on top of the area where you might have hit, might have gotten bruised, might have broken something, and the healing level goes way up, way up. So there's something you want to think about and use. I'll give you another one and try and do our hands. This is for a headache. So, for anybody that has headaches, you should be pretty clear by the time you leave today. Put one hand behind your neck and the other hand here. So we have this, right? And as you do that, feel your hands lift slightly, as if you were just lifting your head off your neck a little bit. And as you're holding your head, just breathe in and breathe out really slowly through your mouth. Breathe in through your nose and out through your mouth. And as you do that, the energy shift will happen, and you can feel it when it happens. At that point, let go and shift to the other side. Use the other hand on the back of your neck, and then this hand up on your forehead. And hold it again, breathing in through your nose and slowly out through your mouth. Sometimes when you start to do deep breathing, you can imagine a candle in front of you and blowing the candle out. That's really helpful if you have asthma. But in holding that and holding your head just a little bit up further and let go again and bring your hands down. Did anyone feel a shift? A little bit different?
Feel a little relaxed.
It is a relaxing tool at the very least. At the very least. And that can be used. You can do this to yourself, or if somebody's really having a very bad headache, you can ask permission and see if they would allow you just to stand there and hold their energy. So these are very old modalities that have been working for centuries. And I'll give you two more. One is, if you have sinuses and you get jammed up, use your fingers again and hold your fingers here on your forehead and pull them down, out along the chin line and out. We'll do it again. The sinuses in the middle of the head, slowly pull down along behind your ear, right by your ear rather, and down and off the chin. And you can also tap underneath if you have sinus pressure. This is pollen days, so that's why I'm showing you this. Here you tap, and then you can tap up here, and then pull down along the chin line and out. Again, that's another way of arresting certain things that can go on in the head. And how many people here meditate? Excellent. So if you haven't meditated before and you haven't had the experience, some of these techniques with the head can help center you to the point where you can start to get into a quiet, peaceful place to meditate. And that helps with healing overall. So the goal with some of this is to take the energy that's created when you're in the room with somebody who's an active addict and you just absolutely don't know what to do because you're in your own place, in your own head, in your own world. And you can get very jammed up and your body can get very blocked with a lot of negative energy. So you want to be able to survive that with good skills. And these basic things can help shift up the energy to help move you out into the world and kind of not have to keep worrying about that person, but maybe just shift it up a little bit. So some of the resources that I can lend you, there's books that are by Barbara Brennan, and it's Barbara Brennan's Hands of Healing Light. And Louise Hay. Has anybody heard of Louise Hay?
Mm-hmm.
And she's the one that wrote a book called You Can Heal Your Life. Have you heard of that? It's a really good, basic book. So those are the basics that I wanted to give you this evening. I wanted to ask also, does anybody have any thoughts about how it is to not work with, or be with somebody in active addiction? I've been in recovery for 34 years. I work in the field. I try and help families. So I'll shift from the shifting of energy to maybe answering any questions that you might have about where you're at in the recovery process, and if you have any questions.
Dory, I don't know, I'm gonna throw this at you.
Yeah, go ahead.
When you're living with somebody in active addiction, self-care becomes really important. And how can you use some of these techniques to sort of help keep your space safe, basically, not absorb you know that feeling, that negativity or that darkness? How do you help keep that out of your energy field?
When you're living with an active addict, it's very, very important. If you can, find a very safe space. And the safe space can be literally a closet. And you make it your little sanctuary. It's you can go in there, maybe put nice music on, maybe make it very comfortable, but it's a safe space for you where you can just be alone. Some of these techniques that I had introduced to you could relieve some stressors or anxiety, and then pay attention to where you hold the stress. So if you hold the stress in your throat, like you're like that, you might want to be saying something that you're not saying to the person. If you're holding it and you feel it in your heart, it might be that you feel like you're brokenhearted over what's happened with you and this individual. Or if you feel it in your gut, there might be something going on deep inside that you sense about what's going on relationally with you and that person. So you want to protect those areas of your body as well so you don't get sick. And you want to be able to do some of these releasing things because that'll help you process mentally as well as physically and not get ill. So in your home, you want to get soft lighting. You want to have a very safe environment, no matter where it is. It might be the car. I had a girl at work tell me today that she said, my car was my safe place for 10 years while my son was using. That's where she was safe. And then lighting is very important. If you have dimmer lights and they're not in your eyes all the time, that'll help adjust the atmosphere for you, for the self-care of you. Because usually we're thinking about the care of the other guy, not the self-care of ourselves. Mani-pedis are good, male or female, doesn't matter. Get out of the house and go get your feet worked on, you know? It's a nice thing. So my presentation was short, but it had some different things in it. I hope there's just one thing you might have been able to take from it today with a lighter kind of subject. And I wish you all a very, very nice and peaceful and good evening. Thank you.
Thank you.
So thank you everyone for attending tonight, and thank you Dory for that presentation. I know that I'm very fond of meditation, and those are very helpful things to do.